we'll keep it live, that's right. From Pennsylvania to across the globe, it's time for the Steelers All-Star Show.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-hosts Cody, Jill, and Nick. How are you guys all doing this wonderful Saturday morning?
Oh, ladies first. Jill, how you doing?
I'm all right. It's one of my last weeks before my freedom ends. I have to go back to school, but I'm doing great. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's no longer blistering heat. It's actually starting to feel a little bit like fall. We're in August. It's football season. Football is officially back, baby. So I am doing great. Cody, how are you on this fine August morning?
I am doing just spectacular. Football is back as of Thursday night. Hall of Fame game did happen. Nick and I were together watching the game, and you never guess where we were at. We were at our friendly neighborhood Edinburgh Hotel Bar.
Support of Steelers by the Lake podcast includes the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, serving a variety of lunch and dinner items every day from their location at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh. Information is available at 814-734-5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com. The Edinburgh Hotel Bar, where you had me at hotel.
Love the good old Edinburgh Hotel Bar. Yeah, we were there with our buddy Jay as well. Jay, former player for the Erie Express. James and I got to go watch them play a couple times. Had a good time. I only stayed till about the end of the third quarter. It was weird. It's always weird watching the first game back in football because there's always the mistakes, the penalties, especially when you're playing a lot of second team guys. But no, it was a very, very good time, and we had a good time doing that. So I'm doing well. James, how are you?
I'll tell you how I'm doing, Cody.
Oh, there it is. There's the
It's that time of year. We're going to rein it in here. We're going to get plenty of energy going on for this morning's show. I'm excited. The pads are on in practice. All the hitting's happening. We got tons to talk about in today's show, so fuel up for it.
Yeah. We're going to start right off the bat with Steelers cutting running back Quarter Pounder Patterson, or otherwise known as Cordell Patterson. And they also got rid of Jeremiah Moon and wide receiver Montana Leminis Craig. Was sad to see Jeremiah go. He was one of the guys that I was talking about potentially fighting for a roster spot, but that's not happening. So, reaction to, I think James called the Cordell Patterson thing very obvious. I think that was coming. But Jeremiah Moon caught me off guard, honestly.
And let's not forget that this is waive/injured, which this time of year means that they've got an injury. And if there's an injury settlement, that means they'll be away from the team for at least 2 or 3 weeks. You could still see both of these players return before the start of the regular season if they fully recover from whatever their injuries are, but they don't have to disclose what these injuries are this time of year. So there's no way of knowing, is it a sprained ankle or is it a torn ACL? It's a big variety of what it could be for these folks. Unfortunately, rough way to start off their season, especially as guys fighting for those back of the roster spots.
Honestly, I think the writing on the wall for Cordell Patterson was there when we signed Kenneth Gainwell. He kind of fit the mold that Cordell provided for us. He was sort of the same kind of role there. And with Patterson being, I believe, 32 and not really showing for us what he had done for Arthur Smith in Atlanta, it was kind of the beginning of the end way back then. I'm not too surprised it took this long. You like to have guys there to mentor and be able to be a part of that room and to compete. But the running back room is still so full for Pittsburgh, even with some of the injuries and moves that we've made, that I didn't anticipate him being there much longer. So good on the Steelers for giving him a chance to maybe sign elsewhere if there's a team that's needy at running back that wants a veteran guy in that room. But again, his time with the Steelers really, in my opinion, ended when we made the Kenneth Gainwell signing.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I feel bad because I know the wide receiver spot, I feel like, is one of our biggest question mark battles because we still don't really know who our number 2 even is at this point. And, like if DK does go down, like what does that look like for depth? So wishing them speedy recovery so that we can see something from them, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a committee of guys taking up that role or that mantle if DK goes down, because you don't have a clear number 2. You have a bunch of guys that, in I think all of our opinions, could perform to be number 2s. You have Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, and Robert Woods, all guys that are kind of up there. And then you got guys like Rock Taylor, who is unproven, but apparently making some plays in training camp. So there's a lot of things that are going to be very interesting. After this cut and waive / injured cutting, we also then signed defensive tackle Dominique Davis and tight end Kevin Foolish. So,
running back Lou Nichols also.
Yep. So 3 guys now on the team.
Mm-hmm. And Dominique Davis was released when they signed Chuck Clark, so he's been on the roster as of like 2-3 days previous to coming back to the roster. My guess is they told him, don't leave town, we're bringing you back on. The other 2 are because of injuries. We heard about the injury to the D-tack or the fullback / tight end for Pittsburgh, apparently not as bad as originally thought. And then if you're going to release running back, you probably want to bring another running back onto the roster. So Lou Nichols gets the nod, and he's kind of a thicker guy. He's like 5'10", 220. So it would be a thick boy for that room, which they love to have some big running backs. So don't have to be tall to be big.
Yeah, Lou Nichols spent a large portion of his career so far often on the practice squad for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Kevin Foulsh actually spent a lot of time also with the Eagles and then most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs. So 2 guys that have been in buildings where the organizations have been doing well as of previous. So maybe that's a factor into why these guys were brought in. You never know what kind of things you're trying to learn from even these bottom of the roster guys. Maybe it's like, hey, how did they do this or how did they do that? So intriguing there. James, Roderick Jones, minor leg injury. Let's talk about it.
They're saying a groin, and we'll be 100% transparent on this. He missed some time. So since we talked to you guys last, he got a minor injury, went and talked to the trainers. They pulled him out of the practice before it turned into a major injury. He missed a few practices. He has since returned to practice. It is a groin injury, in which those kind of nag for a while. So if he isn't feeling 100%, I kind of hope they hold him out for at least the first 2 preseason games and then just kind of see how it is in the 3rd game. But this puts a huge position battle out there for who is for sure the backup left tackle. Calvin Anderson got first shot at it last year. Sounds like him and Dylan Cook kind of split it a little bit this year, but seems like a clear front runner between the 2 of them.
I hate to see him get injured, especially when you're kind of relying on a lot of these guys to be there to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. But on the plus side, at least Isaac Siamalu is back. So we get one lineman going down, we get another lineman coming back. So I like what James said about taking extreme caution with it. You don't need your starting left tackle out there in the preseason as much. I mean, I understand you want him to get some reps and get acclimated and get ready, but I'd much rather have him be healthy than have him be having a nagging groin injury for the first few games of the regular season. So I really like that plan. I hope Pittsburgh views it the same way and doesn't try to rush him back.
Yeah, great opportunity for Calvin Anderson. He's had some real nice practices. But the worst thing you could do is rush him back. Right. I would rather they bring Broderick Jones back week 3 or 4 of the regular season, 100% fully healthy, than rush him back beforehand. Because at offensive tackle, if you've got a groin, you can't move laterally, which means everybody that tries a speed rush on you is going to get around you. So you just can't bother. You can't mess with that. Got to let him heal up.
You're telling me that offensive linemen don't have groins, James? I'm just
So obviously Calvin Anderson, Dylan Cook splitting those starting reps. Also Gareth Warren A big name potentially getting some second team reps at left tackle. But the big news here is Calvin Anderson going 4 for 4 versus Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig in practice. That is actually wildly impressive.
Yeah.
And very, very, very excited to see that. That I think that shows, because I've been high on Nick Herbig since he came into the league. Ask James. One of my way too early blow up predictions was Herbig getting double digit sacks, which didn't happen. But when he plays, I still feel like we get a lot of good play out of him. So Calvin Anderson going 4 for 4 against those two guys is very promising for the depth at our offensive line position.
Yeah, and Gareth Warren is the young man out of Hawaii who really was a dominant offensive tackle in Hawaii, but the level of competition was always the question there. So he's a really, really big dude with good length. I want to say he's like 6'6", 320, 330, something like that. Just a mammoth individual. So I would love to see him get some second-team reps during the preseason games so he can go against some NFL caliber pass rushers and really show whether or not he's got it. He needs that good test. So I feel pretty confident about Calvin Anderson. I think 3 of the 4 of us had him on our 53-man roster predictions. So chances are very good that he'll be our fill-in guy at this stage in time. And I'm not hearing anything negative about Dylan Cook, so that's a good thing. Because typically if you're getting torched on a regular basis, they're talking about it. So he must be at least holding his own. So the offensive tackle depth appears to be a little bit better than what we thought it might have been right out of the gate. And thank God with an injury already to a starter.
Yeah. Jill?
Well, I think it's like what everybody said here. That's awesome that he's going 4 for 4 against someone like Nick Herbig. Like, that's great. When you're, second starter guy like that, I feel like that is a great fight and a great depth piece. And it puts me at ease. Like going into preseason, going into regular season, knowing that we have strength in our second string there, especially when I feel like our O-line is like our biggest weakness at this point. Like you look at our defense and we're stacked, and then you look at our offense and we're like, that's a little bit of a question besides like a couple key positions. So hearing that, I'm like, okay, I can maybe breathe. But again, trying not to take too much into training camp. We got to see what what shakes out once preseason hits. So,
yeah. Sticking with the offensive line conversation, Isaac Seumalo did get taken off of the injured list. So we really like that. I'm excited to see him start playing. I just want to see a couple consecutive weeks of us having our entire offensive line together and playing in a healthy manner. I think I would really, really, really absolutely enjoy that. And I think a lot of, we've talked about this in the past, and I've seen it talked a lot on the mainstream media, on like ESPN and NFL Network. I think a large portion of how well this offense does is how well this offensive line can do. Blocking for Aaron Rodgers, giving him some time, and then blocking in the running game. I mean, if we don't, obviously, if any team doesn't block well, they're not going to have success. But this is a young offensive line. You still have, last year's rookie Troy Fautanu that hasn't even played a full game in the NFL yet outside of preseason. So that's going to be interesting. Broderick Jones potentially going back to left tackle where he's formerly from and where he's known best. And then you got the young guys on the inside. And so, I guess Seumalo is not super young. He's more of a veteran at this point. And then Mason McCormick, Zach Frazier, the rookie from last year. This is his second year.
This
right?
is second year, I think.
Yeah. McCormick, Frazier, and Fautanu were all part of
all rookies.
Yep. So second year guys on all of them. Yeah, I'm
excited.
Yeah, to me, it's a group to be excited about. And again, like we talk about sometimes, and I know this is probably more my drum I like to beat than anybody else's, but we talk about how this team is so old and getting drastically older. This is a very young offensive line, minus Isaac Seumalo, who's like 30 years old. The rest of these guys are extraordinarily young. In fact, Broderick Jones is younger than the 3 guys that were rookies last year. That's how young he was when he came into the NFL.
Wow.
So a very young group who could possibly grow together. Zach Frazier is getting big time accolades already nationally as far as how good he was last year. If you like Madden ratings, he was rated as Pittsburgh's highest offensive lineman in this new about to be released Madden that's coming out for us. So there's reason to be optimistic and a lot of good reports. Aaron Rodgers has nothing but great things to say about Zach Frazier as he's becoming more familiar with the offense. He says Zach Frazier is out there making offensive line adjustments, and he's like, hey, that's my job. but he's happy to see it and very confident in the decisions that Zach is making in the offensive line. So seems to be like really good rapport between those two already. And hearing a lot of really good things about Mason McCormick and hearing a lot about Troy Fautanu giving TJ Watt all kinds of fits in their one-on-one matchups. Seems like a real even trade there with TJ winning some, Troy winning some, and that's real healthy. You don't want either one of them really to dominate, otherwise it's a bad sign for the other one.
Right.
But both are getting wins. So I feel like from center to right tackle, we got young dudes that are really trending upwards. I expect a better year from Sayamalu than last year since he had that pectoral injury early in the year. And so it all comes down to Broderick, man. Can Broderick get healthy? Can he make the adjustment to the left side? Can he play at the level that he played at college? And if not, can Calvin Anderson or Dylan Cook jump in there and play good enough?
Right.
I'm excited to hear that about Troy Fautanu because I hadn't been hearing as much about him. But what I had been hearing a lot of was that Mason McCormick praise. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers speaking highly of Zach Frazier. He's almost equally saying the accolades of Mason McCormick. I believe he even mentioned on the Pat McAfee show that he had the guys were trying to be like, oh, who's going to be the first guy to start a scuffle at training camp, and they had Mason and Zach right up there because they're just getting so into the reps and they're giving it their all. So it's really good to hear these young guys, especially guys that like Mason, who are taken, I believe, in the 4th round of the draft, going out there, putting their nose down and really diving into being a guy for this team. It's encouraging to hear from young guys who have something they want to prove.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just did a Chat GPT quick reference. The average age across the board for the Pittsburgh Steelers, since we were talking about the younger guys, the quarterback position is 30.5 years. Running back is 26. Wide receiver is 26. Tight end is 26 to 27. Offensive line is also 26 to 27. And then defense is where it gets fun. Defensive line is 29 to 30 years. Outside linebackers 29. Inside linebackers 28. That comes from the amount of veterans, I think, on the team currently still. There's still young guys at that inside linebacker position. Cornerbacks is average 27. And then safeties is 28. So there's a couple outliers there that when they get cut, I think those averages will drop a little bit, especially on the defensive side. But it is interesting to kind of keep an eye on that and look at it. So excited for this team to be younger all over the board. We have Aaron Rodgers for 1 year, and we'll see what happens after that. James, do you want to talk about the next guy dealing with an injury?
Yeah, and off of what you just said real quick there, Rodgers starting to tease that maybe this won't be his last season. So we'll see how the season plays out. Honestly, I think he sees the weaponry that Pittsburgh put around him and how good this defense is. And I'm betting if Pittsburgh has a good year and makes some noise in the playoffs that he's going to want to keep on playing.
And with all the draft capital we've got next year, you can only make it better, So if he sees something, and Cody's slapping his face there at that mention, I wouldn't hate it because you give Will Howard the Jordan Love treatment, and then you don't have to draft a quarterback, and you can put pieces around him. And
they're drafting a quarterback.
I'd like to see what Will Howard could do.
I would like to see what Will Howard can do. I still think we're going to draft a quarterback.
Probably. I just would like if we wouldn't have to.
I would like that too, but I will go back to until an OSU quarterback actually proves that they can have some depth to their career besides what, like CJ Stroud, but this isn't, no, I don't even know what year is he in now.
3 or 4.
Yeah, so I'm like, he's like the one outlier that I'm like, okay,
Hey,
You know.
Justin Fields just got paid by the Jets. You never know.
Yeah, and he's already hurt.
Right.
Well, dislocated toe. He'll be back.
But
Have you ever had a dislocated toe? That stuff hurts.
He'll be
I haven't
back.
had it either.
He came back the next
I
day.
was gonna say, yeah, he was back the next day.
Yeah, he's fine.
And just to answer your question, CJ Stroud, this is going into his third year. So
Okay, yeah. See, no, until I see year 5, then maybe.
and he did have a sophomore slump, which is interesting.
That's normal though for quarterbacks. Very rarely do they do as good their second year. People get tape on them, and I mean, it even happened to Baker Mayfield. Like,
Yep.
Baker set the rookie record for most passing touchdowns by a rookie quarterback ever, and the next year was nowhere near as good. But he's had a very good career, in my opinion, so far.
Yep. And the Browns said peace. Yeah, James, let's talk about this other injury real quick.
Yeah, so defensive line starting to take some hits in the injury room, starting off with, unfortunately for Cody Esezi Otomewo, got carted off with a knee injury. He tried walking on it, and it didn't go well. They haven't made any moves with him as far as his roster position yet, so my guess is it's not a torn ligament, but it's certainly not something that he felt like he could walk on his own. Like, people that saw him said, he tried, and it was one of those, like, real nasty limp with that knee. Dean Lowry and Jacob Slade also came up on the injury report with knees, but those were both discovered kind of afterwards. I think it kind of like bothered them a little during practice, and then they went and got checked out afterwards. So all three of those guys were missing time, which is why you saw the transactions that we'll be talking about shortly here. But that defensive line room taking a real hit as far as those guys on the back end of the roster trying to fight for those last 5, 6, and 7 positions. Unfortunately, some injuries slowing those guys down now.
Logan Lee and Julius Welshoff to the moon.
Yeah. Injuries are part of the process. This is normal. We're trying not to overreact.
Well, and like James was saying before the show too, the carting off for Otomewo, I'm probably butchering the name there, but
no, you're right on.
You don't necessarily want to subject a guy who just aggravated an injury to the hills of Latrobe. So carting him off might not be as much of a worry as I had initially been thinking. So James is always my voice of reason when it comes to these things. I always freak out and I go, James, make me feel better. But it's really not necessarily the end of the world for some of these guys, especially if you can get them on an injury designation and keep them around, you might be seeing them come back later in the year at some point. So, but it will be good to see some of these more back of the roster guys get opportunities in camp to see what they can do. They otherwise might not have gotten as many reps with a guy ahead of them. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. James, where are we at? Let's talk about.
We've got some additions to the team now. So officially, Jacob Slade has been waived injured, and defensive lineman Kyler Baugh has been brought in. Pittsburgh brought in like 6 or 7 defensive linemen over the last 3 or 4 days for workouts. So there's been a ton of them. Also, Braden Fajoko is claiming that he has been re-signed by the team. It's not official yet, but that would indicate that there's going to be another roster transition with somebody else probably getting the waived injured designation. Also, in a recent interview, Braden Fajoko reported himself down to about like 290. He lost a bunch of weight in an effort to just kind of get in better shape overall. He was the 320 to 330 pound nose tackle. So if they're bringing him back with that expectation, he's not that frame anymore. So I don't know how well that's going to go for him if he does officially end up getting signed. But some familiar names coming back, some new faces. And it's going to kind of clear up the whole picture a little bit more for those guys fighting for the final spots. We've talked about it with Y.A. Black and Isaiah Loudermilk and Logan Lee and these guys that are trying to get that last spot or the 2 last spots or whatever it may be. As people get injured, it gets a little easier to figure out who it's going to be.
Yeah, Kyler Baugh, rookie out of Minnesota, undrafted, I believe. So,
speaking of injuries and people being carted off, Cody, tell us about our other ad for today.
Carted off is crazy. Carted off. No, I do want to give a big shout out here to my buddy Nick, not this Nick Pretzel, Nick Longstreth, who works at Gary Miller in Erie, Pennsylvania. He actually just hooked me up with a new truck. Wanted to give them a little shout out. If you need a vehicle, go see Nick. He is a great guy. If you actually are serious about it, reach out to me. I'd be happy to give you his information. That is Gary Miller in Erie, Pennsylvania on Peach Street next to the Mill Creek Mall. Awesome job there. I got that done in just a few hours. I mean, I went in, told him the situation with my vehicle, and I was in and out in a jiffy. So that was a very good time. Yes, a jiffy, like peanut butter.
Wow. For that phrase in a minute.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Speaking of something else hot, TJ Watt does an awesome celebration. Sometimes he kicks his leg up. Sometimes he'll just show off all of his muscles. We have a challenge for you guys to check out. There's a wall in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, where I reside at and where Nick resides at. The wall here, if you're watching on YouTube, is shown. It'll also be posted on social media. I'm sure later at some point I'll get some posts up. The artist, we interviewed him, in 2020, James, I think. Yeah. We talked to him briefly. He's redone this wall. He's added different things to it. Phenomenal painter. It's
an amazing mural.
Oh my gosh. It's the most hyper realistic painting I think I've ever seen. And just the detail he puts in all these guys is crazy. And he just recently did a TJ Watt edition. So James and I made a trip up there and it took some photos trying to recreate the TJ Watt image that's on the screen. And so we have them shared here online. Again, we'll get them posted on social media for you guys. But we have a TJ Watt challenge for the 2025 season. Is share with us your best TJ Watt impersonation. There's my image right there. I don't have quite the amount of veins that he has, but man, you can see I was trying to get the vein in the neck to pop. But yes, we would love to see you guys share this with us. Nick's going to get a picture. I'm sure we'll get one from Jill at least. And then we'll post this on social media, the challenge later. It'll be posted on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. So we will get that post up later. But that's just a fun little challenge for you guys. And we'll share, if you share the pictures with us, we will absolutely share them on the podcast. And who knows, maybe we'll vote our top 3 and you'll get a better shout out or something. We'll figure that all out later. But excited to see TJ Watt with this extension a week after the extension conversation. But again, happy to do that. James, we're going to talk briefly about contracts having nothing to do with the Steelers, but just because they're noteworthy, we're going to discuss them. So let's start it off with Minka Parsons requesting a trade from the Dallas Cowboys.
He's so Minka coded. He called him Minka Parsons. That's crazy.
Did I say Minka? Micah. My bad. Micah Parsons.
Yeah, Micah's sick of the negotiations, man, and he's making some claims that a lot of them are going on behind him and his agent's back, which I don't know who you're negotiating with if the agent or the player is not involved. That would be no one. That's not a negotiation at all. So he's very, very upset at the whole situation. He went to social media, put a big long rant together and said he wants out of there. To me, this sounds very similar to the playbook that Myles Garrett went with. And it worked for Myles, so why wouldn't it work for Micah is my opinion on it. But my biggest takeaway from this whole thing is we should be proud of how Pittsburgh handles their business.
Yep.
Because the 3 top pass rushers in all professional football, 2 of them are demanding their way out of town before their contract's up, and the third one signed a deal with a smile on his face and said, I'm happy to be here. So Pittsburgh doing business the right way. Dallas and Baltimore just letting things blow up in their faces. I should say Cleveland, not Baltimore. Baltimore seems to they got their own issues going.
Hey, top 4, even Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll give you an answer as to why it might not work for Micah. Myles didn't have to deal with Jerry Jones, so
yeah, that's very true.
There's a lot more animosity, I think, between the Micah situation than there was in the Myles situation. When you have the guy who's getting the deals done actively calling the guy out for being injured, when, as Micah rightly said in his post where he was discussing all these things, not just the agent not being involved in the situation, but he was putting his body on the line out there for that team. He's out there. He wants to be a part of that organization. He's been a fan of them since he was a kid, which is wild coming from a Pennsylvania guy. But hey, no judgment.
Right.
Come over to Pittsburgh. We'll sign you. We'll love to have you opposite TJ. It'll be great. But but in any case, when you have the guy who's running the organization, who's handing out the contracts, who's the GM and refuses to give that up, going out in a media setting and saying, hey, we're not sure we're going to have him. We aren't sure about his commitment to the team. When you have a guy like Micah, who's completely committed to the team, it's not a good look at all, especially in terms of the negotiation. So who knows, maybe he'll do the Miles thing and go back to the team if they pay him the right amount of money. But he even said in his thing, as much as we may believe it or not, that money wasn't a thing for him. According to him, he was reaching out to the organization 3 years ago saying, hey, I'd be willing to sign now. I want to be a part of this team. And they're like, you'll get paid less. And he's like, I want to get this deal done. I want to be here.
Yeah.
I want to get to work. And so,
it was last off season. So it was last off season he reached out. According
to the post he wrote, he did it 2 years ago and last year.
Okay. So yeah, he said at one point his agent, and this is the one thing that's always a question mark to me, is the agent could call Jerry Jones or call up whoever from that organization and could not say the things that his player wants him to say. Like, who knows, maybe the agent was asking for more money behind Micah's back, or maybe the team really was. There's always a he said, she said in this line of work, which is so fun. I shouldn't say fun, but it's interesting to see and hear about. So again, just like James said, this just shows how well Pittsburgh handles their business, and quite frankly, I think to some extent, it shows the how well handled it was by TJ as well. Yeah, sure, he posted the peace sign that people overreacted to or said whatever about. Is this a sign? Is it whatever? But he never went out and said anything about the organization, even probably when they were at a stalemate. So, kind of the similar thing happening in Washington, another NFC East team. Terry McLaurin requesting a trade as well. So 2 NFC East teams trying to lose big stars. What do we think about Terry McLaurin? Should Pittsburgh go sign him?
According to,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. According to what I've seen, and I don't know how accurate this is, but he's seeking a deal similar, if not bigger, to what DK got, is what my source says. We're saying. So I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but if that's the case, I don't think Pittsburgh can afford to pay him right now. So I would love to see a tandem of Terry McLaurin and DJ, get Scary Terry and DK on the same line. But with the guys that we've got right now, I don't think he fits the style of offense we're going for. And I also don't think that we have the money to go out and pay him. I'd like to see a guy like Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen brought in, who you could still get for a cheaper contract and maybe on a shorter deal and not have to lock down. I love Scary Terry. I think he's a great player, and from what I've seen, all around a good guy. But I don't think Pittsburgh can afford to bring him in, nor do I think he really fits the mold of what we're trying to do, unless DK were to go down and we needed to bring another guy in.
James, thoughts?
I think it's not the move. And I think so because of a multitude of things. I like Terry McLaurin. I think this is a guy who has kept his nose clean. He's stayed out of trouble. He's been highly productive with less than spectacular quarterback play until last year, finally getting Jaden Daniels in there. It's just been kind of mediocre or a little bit above that. But he's 30 years old. This is a 6 foot, 210-pound dude whose game a lot of times is off of speed and explosion. That's already 30. What are you going to give up for a guy like that, who is more likely to have less productive years in the future than he is productive? So I don't know what the strategy would be there. If you could get him for cheap, sure, maybe, but I wouldn't want it as a long-term thing. And honestly, I'm out on Micah Parsons too. I don't want him in Pittsburgh. And it has everything to do with what he decided to say publicly about TJ Watt.
Yep.
When it came down to the Myles Garrett, TJ Watt thing, he said, well, TJ doesn't play the run. Just watch the tape. Well, TJ plays the run better than Myles Garrett. Watch the tape, Micah. It just proves that he doesn't. And I don't like how quick he was to jump on TJ and try to defame him in a manner that was completely untrue.
Yeah.
So I'm out on Micah because of how he handled that whole situation and just basically straight up told lies about TJ for no reason. And I'm out on Terry for the opposite, just because I don't want to see the team that close to the cap for a guy that's probably more likely to not be more productive. If Terry McLaurin was 27 years old, I'd be saying right now, go get him. Let's have the duo of Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf. That would be incredible. I would love to see it, but he's 30. I'd give up a 4th round pick for him and pay him $20 million, but they're going to want a 1st round pick for him, and he's going to want at least $30 million.
Yeah.
So just logistically, it's not a great move. You could probably make it work. You could probably sign a contract and front load it and put bonuses and be able to fit him under the cap. And with future years, as far as what we're going to have cap space, you could make it work. But I don't know. I worry that his best years are behind him, and that's enough for me to say this is probably not the move unless it was really, really reasonable.
Yeah. The last thing that I will say is about Terry McLaurin is just you feel bad for guys like this because they're so talented and they come into the league and they get drafted by a team that doesn't have good quarterbacks or doesn't have a good organization run, and their career just feels wasted, and it's very sad. And you look at the list of his quarterbacks from 2019 to 2023. He had Taylor Heineke, Sam Howell, Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, Alex Highsmith at the end of his career, Carson Wentz at the end of his career.
Alex Highsmith?
Alex Smith. Alex Smith.
He's so
Alex
Steelers
Smith.
coded. He's so Steelers coded.
I am. Alex Smith. Carson Wentz at the end of his career, Kyle Allen, Jacoby Brissett, Colt McCoy, Garrett Gilbert, and Logan Thomas.
Good God.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, who started one game with him.
That's like Allen Robinson, man. Allen Robinson was dominant with awful Bears QBs.
Yep.
Like, these guys just never had a chance to play with good quarterbacks.
Well, and in Terry's defense, too, I think he'll sign with the Commanders again. They got Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract. They're making a Super Bowl push. They just brought in Deebo Samuel for some additional weaponry there. I think they're making a push for the Super Bowl, and I don't think that they would, with the organization no longer being under the thumb of Dan Snyder and having a better leadership and being able to be a actually well-run organization, I anticipate them bringing him back in an attempt to push for a Super Bowl. I don't see him going anywhere else.
I think he's got two options. It's either the Commanders still, or he gets traded to the Chargers. Chargers are also trying to push for something now with Justin Herbert before he gets sick and tired of that team. So I don't know. Any last thoughts? I know this was just a lot of information on this podcast. There wasn't a whole lot of deep topics just because that's the state of the situation right now in the NFL. Most teams are just discussing injuries and training camp and stuff like that. Steelers' first preseason game is in a week?
Next week. Next
Saturday.
week.
It's coming up.
Next Saturday.
Yep.
Next Saturday.
Yeah.
Very excited.
So we'll definitely be watching that. We're excited to talk Steelers football. Again, maybe that might force us to do a Sunday record. Maybe we've got to talk Steelers football. So we'll see what happens. We can't thank you guys enough for listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews of a podcast make James very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James, Cody, Nick, and Jill from Ohio, signing off.
Peace.
Steelers.